welcome back to my channel! In today's video, as you may have known from clicking on the title of this, we're going to do an easy beginner's Harley Quinn mallet tutorial, and I'm going to show you how I make my mallets. So I prepped some supplies previously, so what you're going to need is a 1 inch or 3/4 inch PVC rod. You can get these at like Home Depot or any kind of hardware store. And I've cut it to the length that I would like it already. I have an 8-inch concrete fill tube. As you can see, it's hollow. I have already cut out the circle in the middle that the PVC tube is going to go through, and this is going to be the head of our mallet. You can also get these at any kind of home hardware stores. And then I have this thick sheet of foam that I got at a craft store. It's 1/2 inch thick, and I have cut out 2 circles, and the circles I have also ridged inwards so that we can plop them on the sides of this mallet. Some other helpful things you may need. I highly recommend getting some contact cement. This stuff is amazing, and once you put it on, your things will not fall apart. So we are going to go and we are going to assemble the outer layer of the mallet first. So the first thing I'm going to do with assembling the infrastructure of the mallet, I'm going to heat up a hot glue gun. Be very careful because these can get very, very hot. I started at the top to secure that first, since the hole I cut was slightly bigger than the actual PVC pipe I used. So I just put some hot glue around the edges up top there. And then I went inside and used a bunch of hot glue on the inside. And when I say a lot, you want to smother the inside with hot glue to make sure it does not move. And next I went outside to attach the sides with contact cement. With contact cement, you have to apply it to any surface it will connect together. So I applied it around the ring of the mallet as well as the ring of the styrofoam. Let that dry until it got tacky to touch, and then I stuck it together, and that's what it looked like. And then I repeated the process for the other side. And now you have your infrastructure for your mallet, and this can be used for multiple types of mallet. I have done these same infrastructure techniques with this wooden mallet, as well as this metal looking Joker mallet here. So it's all very similar infrastructure on the internal build of the mallets. And now we have to cut out our foam and designs and make them look like wood. So the mallet head itself is 24 inches around and 6.5 inches wide. So I'm going, and I want my panels to be around 4 inches apiece. So I'm going to make 6 4-inch panels that are 16.5 inches wide. And I'm going to be doing that out of a very thin EVA foam because I want this to have not a super bulky look to it. For this process, I wanted it to be a thinner looking mallet, so I used 2mm thick foam, and I had a big roll of it. I will link below all of the products I used, so I will try to find this exact one and link it below as well. You can also use 5mm foam if you want it a little bit thicker. So now that I have all of my 6 EVA foam boards cut out, they are not all the same size. Some of them are a little longer, some of them are wider, and that's okay. We are going to get to scoring and heat sealing these bad boys. To make the ridges in the foam, I used an X-Acto knife, and I made sure to not cut too deep through the foam, and I just made a bunch of swirly lines down the whole thing to mimic wood. For the boards themselves, I cut out, I don't know if you can see that yet, but some little ridges on the sides and everything, because we don't want them to be perfect. We want them to resemble real wood. So if you can see, I have scoring all over them. Some of them I have big cutouts to make it resemble real wood, and we're going to heat seal these, and then you'll be able to see all that little fine detailing. I cut out the sides for the end caps. And with these, you're gonna want to make a swirl pattern with your X-Acto knife because you want it kind of to resemble a trunk of a tree. So we're gonna go ahead and swirl these bad boys up. So for the sides of the mallet, you want to use your X-Acto knife to cut a design that is kind of like a big circle going inward without being a full circle. So just some notches that start at the outside and work inward. And that is what all of my foam pieces looked like cut out. I cut out some extra straps and just a few extra accessories there to glue on the mallet at the end. So next we are going to heat seal all of our foam pieces. This is a Wagner heat gun. You don't need an actual heat gun. You can heat it over the heat of your stove to heat seal the foam, or you can use a hair blow dryer on a hot setting. You'll notice that the color of it starts to darken and it'll kind of crinkle, and all of those little fine detailing you put in will start to spread out a little bit, which will help when we're painting it. So you don't need a heat gun. It is very helpful in the long term if you're going to do a lot of cosplay projects like this, which is why I have one. But whatever you use, be careful because they can be hot. So now let's heat these guys up. Whatever process you just decide on when heat sealing foam, be very careful. If it's a heat gun, they can get extremely hot, as with stoves and other heating methods. So just be very careful and don't go too close to the foam so the foam doesn't start to melt. So now that we have all of our panels and straps heat sealed, we are going to attach the panels to the mallet using contact cement. I have never attached them before, but this should make the process go a lot easier, and we are going to then paint afterwards with the panels already attached onto the mallet. It's super important to heat seal your panels because it shrinks the holes in the foam so you're not putting 50 layers of paint on them. So it helps to close all those little pores in the foam, and it helps to stretch out those little cracks in the foam. So let's go attach them. I used contact cement to attach the foam panels to the mallet itself because if you use hot glue, it might create extra ridges that are not wanted in it. So you want to put it on the foam and then the mallet, wait for it to feel tacky, which is around 10 to 15 minutes, and then apply the foam. So once you have all your panels glued on, you will still see some of the underneath there. That's fine. If your foam overlaps the sides, you can cut it on after. And I actually had a full other panel that I didn't use. And so with this, I'm going to chop it up into smaller bits and just hot glue it on top of this foam to give it a little bit more depth and texture. The hot sauce is stealing the image in this picture here, but I cut out a few diamond kind of shapes that I just glued sporadically around the outside of the mallet just to give it a little bit extra texture. And then I brought my mallet back outside and I applied Plasti Dip. I highly recommend having Plasti Dip in your arsenal. It is mainly made for cars, but what it does is it seals that foam so you can cleanly paint on top of it without the foam soaking up the paint. It also helps prevent the paint from cracking, and you can reheat it if your foam does have any cracks in it later on. Plasti Dip is the best for this. I highly recommend you get this. So we put 2 layers of the black Plasti Dip all over the mallet. And again, you want to do this in a well-ventilated area because it is toxic, or wear a mask while doing it and make sure there's a lot of airflow. So I just did it outside and then I covered it twice in that. And I got the color black because it's easiest to work with for me. You can also get it in other colors like white. I think they have a red, and so whatever color you get, it's going to do the same effect. I just happen to get black because it's the easiest and cheapest. Again, it will be linked in the description down below. Highly recommend. After I Plasti Dip coated my mallet, then I went ahead and used the same Plasti Dip on my straps as well as my other accessories. You see the googly eyes there. I'm actually going to use those as bolts to make these straps look more realistic. It's a cheap alternative to other methods, and it's worked on my mallets in the past, so I like to stick with the googly eye method, and it makes a fun sound when you shake your mallet. So just cover those in Plasti Dip also, and that will make them ready for the second layer of actual paint that we'll put on it.
Instead of hand painting afterwards for the straps, the diamonds, and the googly eyes, I just used a can of spray. I used a metallic silver spray, so you'll see that in a second in the video as we go forward here. But I just used a can of spray after I finished with the Plasti Dip. And then I had some cheap brown shades of paint there, acrylic paints. I would recommend 3 to 4 different colors of this, as well as you're going to need black as well. So I first started off with a very light coat of a tannish color. I put it on too thick, so I just dipped my brush in water to help spread that out and not cover up the cracks that we had made earlier in the video. There you can also see the actual detailing that I added. And then once I put on that layer, I started in with darker browns and just smudged them around to give it a more realistic wooden feel. And you can keep doing this to your desire. You can do different colors. I've seen red and black mallets. I've seen silver mallets. I've seen all kinds of different mallets. This one, however, happens to be a wooden mallet. That's what it looked like once the brown paint was dried. And then I went in with black paint and with water, as well as a paper towel, and I just kind of dabbed black around to give it a little bit more of a worn feel to the mallet itself, to give it a little bit more of a 3-dimensional look rather than a 2-dimensional look. I love this technique. It's my favorite. And this is here where I glue on those metallic straps I had painted. I just used a hot glue gun for this. Again, be careful because they can be very hot. I burn myself every time I use it. So I glued that on there. And then I just wrapped it around, trying to match up the edges. And then on top of those straps, I just glued the googly eyes I had spray painted silver. And that is what it looks like once everything was assembled. She is all done. She is all weathered, all painted. This is how she looks. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. If you want to see more videos like this, please just let me know in the comment section. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have fun making your own mallets. If you do, make sure to leave a comment